All right, and then to a really, really good division, the AFC West and your Denver Broncos play in this division, Shorto. We'll get to them in just a second, but let's start with the Chiefs. The Chiefs dynasty, will it continue? They did lose a Super Bowl, getting smoked in the first half against Philly, but they did win 15 games in the regular season last year. It was a bit of a different Chiefs that we saw in 2023. What year are we? 2024. In that they didn't have this high-powered offense carrying them. It was the defense that was more important for the Chiefs last year. How do you see their year playing out?
Yeah, well, I don't think they had any changes in the coaching staff. I'm pretty sure Spags is still their DC. So the question is, does the defense carry them, or can Mahomes get some help, get some weapons? And Rice coming back for however long his suspension potentially will be.
Yeah. So we'll be there for the first 4 games. That's confirmed, and then looking at 4 to 6 weeks suspension after that.
Yeah. If that hearing goes ahead, or whether that gets delayed to February, we'll see. Rice-Worthy there. They want to see if Royals can kind of grow into that position. Hollywood Brown's been hurt, and they've got Juju still floating around. They got to transition out of all the old fellas into some of the young fellas, and having Isaiah Pacheco back there healthy probably is a good start.
And we've got to talk about that. They were banged up on offense last year. So Pacheco missed, Rice missed time, Brown missed time. They didn't have a lot of their offense.
They traded for Hopkins to try and fill a hole, and he was serviceable. But
so if they all stay healthy, maybe we will see a bit more of a high-powered Chiefs offense.
But they need to find weapons. I think that's the main thing. Patrick Mahomes can't be throwing checkdowns all game, so he needs to be able to find some weapons that he can throw to. Because I think he had the most. I think his average for pass distance was the lowest in the NFL last year.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Might be a slight mayo on that, but I'm pretty sure it was unders because they didn't really have anything to go deep.
Still won 15 games last year, so we're speaking about them like they underperformed. They made the Super Bowl.
I think with Patrick Mahomes, it's Super Bowl or bust every year. Like you're trying to win Super Bowls with that talent while he's still elite before any potential drop off. So, and capitalizing on your 10-year deal with him, you've got another 6 or 7, I think, left on it. So that for me is always going to be there. And you looked at the name value of some of the guys on the defense. They've got a good defense core and a solid defensive line. They're going to be competitive. It's going to be a tough AFC West division to fight through.
Yeah, that might be the rhetoric of the summer, is that the Chiefs probably haven't improved markedly other than getting a bit more healthy, whereas the Broncos and Chargers both look like they're ascending.
Yeah, it's an arm race in the West, and even the Raiders, they know it. They've gone out and new coach, new quarterback, new running back, etc. And if they want to trade for Henderson, they know that it's tough in that division. But if you want to go, Chargers next? We've got Chargers next.
Chargers come second last year, so they went 11-6 under Jim Harbaugh. And Justin Herbert, I think, threw 3 intercepts last year. So didn't turn the ball over very much. They get Keenan Allen back. Their offensive line did take a beating. We spoke about it with Rashawn Slater doing that patella tendon.
Yeah, they still have a young offensive line as well. Like Joe Alt, hopefully will slide straight across and be good. So it'll be more an issue at right tackle. But Allen back, getting Hampton, getting Harris, they're hopefully, better at the running back position potentially. And
Lad McConkey showed that he's very good at football last year.
And I think Johnson's probably going to fall away and Harris might step up into that role. They've got some more wide receiver options for him outside of Lad catching everything last year. So I think they will be competitive. The letdown for them is probably defense. Losing Bosa, they did retain Max.
Max stays.
Yeah, but I'm just not sure if they're outside James, their secondary strong enough, and whether their front seven's as good as it was a year ago. That's compared to, say, what Chiefs and Denver will roll out for defense. That'll be maybe the one caveat where they're down compared to those two.
Yeah, we will talk about your Denver Broncos, and we'll try to keep it under 45 minutes. But on paper, potentially the best defense going into week 1. Try to give us a relatively unbiased opinion. They went 10-7 last year under a rookie quarterback who, down the stretch, went close to being the rookie of the year. Are you excited as a Broncos fan down under? Cheering for Denver going into this season?
Yeah, of course. Last season, very much like the Canberra Raiders were. This year, they were meant to get the spoon, meant to be the worst team in football, and they played playoffs. So, and I think that's a big thing. Bo Nix, his growth. And I put the same note for him and Jalen Daniels because I'm worried about that sophomore slump. Like they're getting Shrouds. Yeah. Yep. So, is it going to be Nixon? Is it going to be Daniels? And, both those teams invested in more offensive weapons for both of them. So, for Denver, they've gone out and added Ingram. They add Pat Bryant through the draft. And then, bring in RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins as your new running backs. So, hopefully he can get some more support out of the run game. That's probably the big one. And will that turn into, more offensive output where the defense is hopefully going to be dominant. And, if you can score 28 points a week, then that's probably winning.
And you got to go over to the defensive side and have a look. They've got Pat Surtain, probably the best cornerback in the NFL. Nick Bonito is a top 100 edge rusher on the outside. They've added Dre Greenlaw and Tala Hofanga, who are both pretty handy players.
And then they added, where's he listed in there? Where is Barron? He's actually listed third cornerback, but he's going to be their slot cornerback. Barron, was their first round pick. So add another corner. Corner to that secondary. It's going to be a good looking defense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
5 sacks last year, I think, as well.
So. Yep. Number one defense on most fantasy projections this year. They'll play a 3-4. They'll be pretty nasty on that side of the ball.
Yeah. For fantasy advice, I would avoid Denver's defense purely for the division they play in. they play in a very tough division that has points scored on them. So it's going to be tough to be the number one defense in football.
All right, so
we've
got the Texans winning the South. We've got the Ravens winning the North. We've got the Bills winning the East. None of those are hot takes by any means. Have you got a hot take for this? Do you think Kansas City go back and win it again? Or are you happy with your Denver Broncos at being not just a good team, but being a really good team?
Yeah, well, I want to think that on paper they've made the growth. The division's still going to run through the Chiefs there.
Yeah.
You still got to go. If you can beat the Chiefs, and you beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, which we almost did last year, that's the difference. That's where you can potentially become division champion. But outside of that, it's going to be tough. So I think it's going to be one of the most competitive divisions in there, and I guess that leads to Vegas.
Yeah, and I think it's different to the AFC North in that I don't think the Raiders are the Browns.
Yeah,
I think they should be more competitive.
They're probably a 500 team.
Bro, if they're in the AFC South, they... it could be a playoff team. Yeah. I think it's just it's going to be really hard to do it out of the AFC West, and a lot of uncertainty around changes. All right, so Pete Carroll comes in. He's going to be the oldest head coach in the NFL. They bring in Geno Smith,
but he's qualified. That's the other thing.
100% as a Lombardi, and he's been there twice as well.
Yep.
They bring in Geno Smith, who's had a career resurgence over the last few years. They have this highly touted running back in Ashton Genty, who, whilst you may have had him as a bit of an avoid in a fantasy perspective, just based on how highly you'll have to draft him, is still going to be a really, really good thing for this offense.
Have a good season.
We spoke about Jacoby Myers a couple of weeks ago. Pretty handy wide receiver one, whilst he's not an elite talent, is handy. And then they've got this incredible tight end in Brock Bowers. They don't look horrendous on the offensive side of the ball, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, and there's some interest there. Like I think Myers is good. They seem to have found something in Thornton Jr. Scored a touchdown today. Mm-hmm. So the offensive line's not overly bad. Though they have Charles Scott, Jackson Powell Johnson playing in two different positions.
Yeah, so I don't think that'll happen. They'll be doing well to do that. The ESPN needs to update their depth chart there.
I think of Bowers as well. So and then that defense, there is some name value there. Crosby's still there. Mm-hmm. Their secondary is probably not elite by any chance, but Jeremy Chin's there, Stokes is there. Some name value. If they can add a bloke like Henderson, if that's rumored, Hendrickson, potential, then that adds to it. But they're in a tough division. They got to go beat the other three teams, which on paper are better than them. But it's, I still think they can be almost a 500 team. It's a solid team.
Agreed. All right, well, that's the AFC West. We haven't said anything that's too controversial, I don't think. No super hot takes there. There's some clear favourites across each division. Let me just get the betting numbers because I
reckon at least one wild card will come out of the West, and then the North will probably get the other one.
And there's always a surprise or two. It's very, very difficult to pick all 7 teams that are playing playoffs. Picking 4, no worries, but trying to get those wild cards can be pretty hard. The AFC West, the odds: Kansas City Chiefs are at $1.80, Denver at $3.75, Chargers $4, and the Raiders $11 to win the AFC West. Let's go over.